Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jeanette. I thought today I would do something a little different and do a video about like spend the weekend with me type of thing. I'm going to be cleaning up my little reading and meditation nook. I did a video on how I put this together a while ago, but I've updated it with some new stuff and made it ultra cozy. So I'll show you that. I'm going to do a little bit of decorating for Christmas, and I'm going to do some cooking and show you a vegetable soup that I've been obsessed with lately. And what I wanted to talk about today was why I chose to not discuss weight loss any longer on my channel. So let's get right into the discussion part of it. I have chosen to not talk about weight loss on my channel for a couple of reasons. Number one, it has been psychologically damaging to me throughout my life, and I'll tell you a little story about some of the things that I have been through as far as my weight and the number on the scale. And the other thing is, it doesn't tell the whole story about somebody. When I step on the scale and I see a number, it doesn't tell me how in shape I am, and it doesn't tell me anything about my body composition. So if any of you have my cookbook, in the beginning is a little bit of storytelling. I talk about my dad and I and how we eat a plant-based diet and all that, but I also go into a little bit of my dad's history with weight gain and weight loss, because he's done that a number of times, as have I, but I go a little bit more in depth into my own story. So when I was in my early 20s, I was very active, and I was in karate and I played basketball, so I was running a lot. I was running 3 to 4 miles every other day. I was training for karate 4 to 5 times a week. And for the first time in my life, I was paying attention to what I was eating, because my karate instructors would teach me how to eat to fuel athletic performance. So you can imagine, through all that cardiovascular exercise and better attention to eating, I got very, very thin. I'm 5 foot, almost 5'7". I'm somewhere between 5'6" and 5'7", so 5'6.5". And at that time, I was down around 135 pounds, which might not sound too terrible, but on my frame, I'm not a small woman, I'm not petite. That was actually a bit too thin, and my parents at one point told me I looked a little bit sickly. In my mid-20s, I was actually married at that time to a man who was not very nice to me, and he berated me all the time. He told me I was fat, I was ugly, and he threatened me all the time with leaving me if I got fat. So I heard this all the time, and I put on about 40 pounds in the first couple of years of that marriage. So then I started working with a personal trainer and a nutritionist, and I was following the diet advice of the fitness industry of the time, which was about eating lean protein and complex carbohydrates for every single meal, eating small frequent meals, so I was eating about 6 times a day, drinking a lot of water, and I was working out a lot. I hit the gym probably 4 to 5 times a week, and I was running again, and I was weight training, and this worked. It worked really well, actually. I got down to, again, about 135 pounds, and my body fat was 18%. And at that point, I was actually thinking about doing a physique competition. But thankfully, we got divorced. But as you can imagine, with divorce comes a lot of different upheavals and changes. So there was a new job, there was a move across the country, there was a whole bunch of starting overs for me, and the depression that often goes with divorce and processing that loss in life. So over the next 10 years, between the ages of 28 and 38, I packed on 80 pounds, and it happened very slowly. I didn't even realize it was happening. I was just buying bigger clothes and didn't think much of it. But at that point in my life, I had stopped all the rigorous exercise, and I had gone back to my old ways of eating. So about 8 pounds a year crept on, and ultimately I weighed about 215 to 220. Then around the age of 38, I met my second husband, and he didn't care what I looked like. He didn't care how much I weighed. He thought I looked great the way I was, and he never berated me for my appearance or my weight. And around the age of 40, that's when my dad and I embarked on a plant-based diet to try to help my dad with his health. And just by the nature of eating more wholesome foods that were lower in calorie density, we ended up shedding quite a bit of weight. So over about a 1.5 year period, I shed 70 pounds of the 80 I had gained during that decade of my life. And that's when we started the YouTube channel. Then in my late 40s, I got divorced again. And as you can imagine, all the starting overs, all the upheavals again. But shortly after that, we had the pandemic. So I'm a person that turns to food. It's something I'm not ashamed about. It's just the person that I am. And went back to eating very rich foods. And over the course of about 6 months in the beginning of the pandemic, I gained 30 pounds. That made me very nervous because I really didn't want to get any larger than that. And I'm a person that I can put weight on very easily if I don't watch what I'm eating. So I put the brakes on and started walking again, went back to a more wholesome plant-based diet, started to shed some of the weight. In the midst of all this, I met my current partner, Jim, and he adores me just the way that I am. And I've been hanging out at about 20 pounds over where I was at my thinnest as, you know, a plant-based eater when I started doing this in my early 40s. So there was always something nagging at me though, something underneath all of this saying, you know, you need to look like a fitness model and you need to, you know, restrict what you're eating. There were all these negative thoughts going on about it. I turned 50 this year and I have been looking at the world and experience it a much different way at this stage of my life. And I really wanted to examine these smoldering feelings that I had about needing to look like a fitness model and why I always thought I wasn't thin enough. And I started to examine all of this and untangle it, try to understand it. I really couldn't come up with a good reason why I wanted to look a certain way, but I did understand a lot of the things that I had experienced over the last 30 years with regard to my weight and my body image. And what I realized is the 2 times in my life when I have been at my thinnest, fittest, I've also been the unhappiest. And I realized that being thin did not necessarily make me a happier person. I felt really good. I was athletic, but I wasn't happy. And I'm happy at this point in my life. I am actually joyful and at peace. And I have people tell me all the time at work, I love being around you because you're such a calming presence and you're really just a peaceful person and you're always, you know, in a good mood. And I really enjoy this part of my life, and I wanted to really let all of that baggage go that I had about needing to be thin and that somehow gave me better self-worth or made me a better person than somebody else. So I just thought of something that I want to make sure I include in this whole weight loss discussion that I forgot to mention. It's actually later in the day, but I'm going to take this clip of the video and insert it into my little discussion this morning. I wanted to share with you the couple of books that I read about this subject. Some of you have asked if I could share some of the books that I'm reading. So one of the books was called Body of Truth: How Science, History, and Culture Drive Our Obsession with Weight and What We Can Do About It. And this was by Harriet Brown, and it was a very good book on the subject. And then the other book that I'm reading, there's an excerpt from here that I thought was really interesting. This is the Canyon Ranch Guide to Living Younger Longer. And this is kind of a holistic book that addresses many different aspects of wellness and well-being. But there is an excerpt in here I want to read to you that I thought was very interesting about this whole thing. And the title of it is called Your Perfect Body. And it says, your body as it is at this moment is perfect. We're not kidding, and here's what we mean. Your body is perfectly adapted to the way you live, and it reflects perfectly what you do every day given your genetic inheritance. What you have is what you get when you eat the way you've been eating and exercise the way you've been exercising, period. You might as well just stop stewing about what Kate Moss, Jennifer Lopez, or your skinny potato chip munching sister-in-law looks like, because it's irrelevant to you, to your physiology. So are we saying that you're stuck with what you have right now? No, the evidence is overwhelming that the human body adapts beautifully to whatever we ask of it. What follows from this? One simple rule: change your life, and your body, given time, will change. It will never be exactly the supermodel body that our culture keeps insisting you must have to be happy, but your body will change within the parameters of your genetic inheritance, and those changes will faithfully reflect your efforts. But whatever you do to lose weight, you must keep doing, or your ever adaptable body will readapt. This spoke volumes to me and is what ultimately led to my acceptance and gratitude for this body and all it has done for me. It is perfectly suited to the lifestyle that I live now. I do the amount of activity that I can do on a daily basis. I eat the most wholesome food that I can most of the time. Sometimes I eat not so wholesome food and I enjoy that too. But if I want my body to look or function a different way, then I need to change some behaviors. But for right now, I'm very happy with the way things are. This has been such a wonderful experience to have been able to examine all of these things about myself and to face them, because I am ready to leave this cumbersome baggage in the past, and I look forward to the rest of my life with excitement and joy. And I don't know if this is just the phase of life that I'm in, midlife, but I look at things a whole lot differently now and I think about them differently. And I am looking at this from an overall picture of health and vitality, and I'm going to treat my body the best that I can so that I can live the best life that I can. And I got to tell you, it is just such a liberating feeling. So that brings me to my second reason that I no longer talk about this. And that is, there's a much better marker of physical health, and that is body composition. So that's really what I'm focusing on at this point in my life as I move forward, hopefully into the next 50 years of life. I want to try to maintain a healthy amount of muscle mass and preserve it as much as I can. I also want to maintain a healthy level of body fat and have overall good cardiovascular fitness, strength, flexibility, and vitality. So by me stepping on the scale and seeing a number that reflects my weight, that doesn't really tell me what kind of shape that I'm in. I would much rather be physically fit than worry about the number on the scale. So if you're looking for plant-based weight loss, this isn't the channel for that. There are plenty of other channels on YouTube that address that. I'm a registered nurse, and as you guys have seen, if you've followed the channel since the beginning, it has, evolved over time. I started out with, talking about weight management and plant-based foods and the impact on my health and my dad's health. And then over the last couple of years, it's kind of changed into more of a health and wellness type channel where I still share the plant-based recipes, but I also wanted to incorporate more ideas for people to improve their health, their wellness, their well-being, and just treat everything much more holistically. So thanks for listening to that. It's ended up being my own little personal therapy session, I think, by doing this video, and I hope it's helpful to somebody else out there. I can't tell you how many times I have recorded this and deleted it and listened to it, and just it's been a really important thing for me to go through to reach a level of acceptance about who I am, this body that I'm in, and have gratitude for everything that this body's done for me, and just to be able to discharge all that negative baggage that I had and be able to move forward in life. So thanks for listening. All right, so I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. It's going to be a very laid back, relaxed, join me in a weekend type of thing as I clean and organize and cook and enjoy some food. right, thank you so much for joining me here today. This was not an easy video for me to make. I really didn't know if it was something I wanted to talk about and expose myself to the world like this, but in the end, it ended up being really helpful for me to examine all of this and talk about it. It's been helpful to me. I hope it's been helpful to somebody else out there. And I hope you enjoyed the nice relaxing weekend at home with me too. So thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video, and I hope that you are all staying well.